The chargeback modules in UCS Director are designed to be able to show the associated costs of providing a particular virtual service. So as you look at being able to add new features and capabilities to UCS Director, from a services catalog perspective, you've got the ability to be able to associate a cost of delivering those services back to the business. Being able to assign these costs can be done to be able to attribute those different charges to different departments and organizations within the business. Again, it's a way for IT to be able to pay for these services. And it meters the VM usage and calculates resource costs accordingly. You also have the ability to be able to tie a budget policy to departments and groups. So, for example, if you've got a particular budget that is attributed to, manufacturing, for example, if you've got, $500,000 that you can spend in a year, you can actually put that in as part of the characteristics of it. And then if they are within that budget, they'll be able to use up to it, and then you can even give an option to be able to exceed it if you choose to. But that's a feature that you can implement as part of the actual configuration of chargeback within the system. So the idea behind that is, if you want to be able to do a real hard budget, where once they hit that budget, they can't do anything else, you can have that configured, or you can allow them to be able to exceed it, where budgeting is really more of a guesstimation in the beginning. Now, how is cost calculated? Cost really is based on a number of factors. The first thing is the active VM cost or an inactive cost associated with a virtual machine. So that's saying that the virtual machine may have a particular cost while it's running, and it also has some cost while it's not running. Why? Because it still takes up resources. Even if it's not using CPU, it will take disk space. So that's why you could have a potential inactive cost associated. You also have one-time costs. Now, this might be something that an organization may charge as part of initial setup. So once a particular service is set up and you've got a new virtual machine or a new service that is being initiated, there's a particular fee that's part of that process. It's almost like when you buy a new cell phone, or you get on a new cell phone plan and they charge you a startup fee kind of thing. That's the same concept. You also can determine cost based on CPU, memory cost, and disk. So that's a very simple way to be able to do it, where you have a cost associated with each core of CPU or utilization of the CPU. You've got a cost associated with memory. You can do it in increments of half a gig, 1 gig, however you choose to do it. And then you have disk costs. So maybe you have a cost for the base amount of disks that's added for a particular virtual machine, and if you want to exceed that, if you want to double it or triple it or whatever it is, you would have a cost associated with that as well. So those all added together will give you the cost associated with that piece. You also have the ability to be able to have a CPU reserved cost. Now, this is going to be for those environments where you need to have dedicated performance, and that would allow you to be able to reserve specific amounts of CPU. So within your hypervisor, you've got the capability of being able to segment parts of your CPU and dedicate it to a particular process. That's where this comes into play. Same thing on the memory side. In addition, you can also have a cost associated with network received and transmitted cost. So what that means is you've got the ability to be able to monitor bandwidth, and depending upon how much utilization this particular virtual machine has, you could use that as a cost metric too. There's also a application cost that you can put in that would allow you to be able to have different costs to maybe recoup licensing fees and things like that that would be attributed to running a piece of software. Chargeback summary reports. What this does is allows you to be able to run a report that's going to give you visibility into the costs of the current month, previous months, whatever it is that you're looking to be able to get information for. You have really a couple of main reports that you can run. You have an all groups report, which will give you a number of different categories you can search for. So this is showing you some examples of what you have. Top 5 groups with total costs, top 5 groups with total memory costs, all these different pieces. It breaks it down, and you can do reports based on this. In addition, you've got individual group reports that you can run. So in this situation, you could maybe run a report on accounting and then have figure out what it is that they're running, all the different reports that we've seen earlier as far as the holistic on how the system's running. This could be very focused on that particular group or that particular line of business. The whole point of this is you've got the ability to be able to run a large number of reports that will give you the types of information you need to be able to run an efficient chargeback system for your organization. So what does a chargeback dashboard look like? So this is going to show you a number of the different reports. So you can see here the way that the dashboard is set up. So this will give you current utilization. You can have it differentiated by time. You can have from the last day, the last week, the last month. This right here is showing you the current month summary. So this is showing you the utilization as well as the current number of virtual machines, bandwidth in and out, all those different factors. In addition, you also have resource accounting. This will give you the ability to be able to go in and give details on how many resources that particular virtual machine or that particular group is using. So it's a great way to be able to anticipate, and plan for capacity, capacity increases, or to be able to identify what a particular run rate is for a group that you are managing. Per VM chargeback reports. These are going to allow you to be able to have a chargeback cost associated all the way down to the VM level. So the chargeback cost is going to be attributed to that particular virtual machine and all the utilization of that virtual machine. And then, of course, you also have that ability to be able to do the accounting associated with it, usage, compute, storage, network, all of the different factors you can get from this particular view. So you can go all the way from the group level, everything that the UCS director is looking at. You can go down to the group level. You can then go all the way down to the virtual machine. So very flexible in the amount of reporting that you can do. Now let's talk a little bit about advanced cost models. This is designed for creating a package for cost. And what this is intended to do is allows you to be able to create a custom definition of CPU and memory packages and the attributed cost to that. So the format of the package model is C minus M X. And what this is doing is it's saying that for C, this is the number of CPU cores, M is the memory in gigabytes, and X is the combined monthly cost of C and M. So in this example that we have here of 2 minus 4, colon 200, it's saying that for 2 CPU cores and 4 gigs of memory, it's going to cost $200. So imagine this as just being a menu that you have on a board, right? If you're going to order lunch, this is going to be a very simple way to be able to get that type of information out very quickly. So I know that for 2 CPU cores and 4 gigs of memory, it's $200 a month. And I can have these attributed to many of those different types that I may have within my organization. And the more of this you use, I've got a very simple way to be able to figure out what the cost is going to be. So that's the point of advanced cost models, is to be able to allow you to create those type of packages and attribute them to certain types of virtual machines in your organization.